Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name's Lara, adoptee, adoption wellbeing researcher, coach and psychotherapist. Today I want to talk to you about how I conceptualize time. I find that time is something that is thought about much more as you go through life, and the existential approach to understanding human happiness or the human condition bears this out. And so we see, what some people refer to as midlife crisis, or others will refer to as an existential crisis, let's say, tends to happen around the midpoint in life. And that's very much because as we go through our lives, we become increasingly aware of our own mortality. And so when we get to the midpoint, we realize, wow, okay, I'm kind of in the middle of my life. And are there things that I haven't done? Do I have untapped potential? Am I truly happy with my lot, with my world? Are there things that I need to try and achieve in the second half of my life? And this is where I think that people unfairly, in my view, get ridiculed for having a midlife crisis, or for suddenly taking up a new sport or whatever. But actually it's a natural process that's unfolding and that's occurring for people as they kind of go through their lives. And one of the things that we know that people can't deal with are regrets. People don't feel bad about things that they tried and failed. They feel bad about the things that they didn't try. And so that person who to you looks like they're having a midlife crisis is actually just fulfilling a natural need to try and reach their own potential in whatever realm that might be. So yeah, time's a really important concept in terms of how we conceptualize our lives and for all of us. But when we're young, we don't really think about time. We don't really think about the passing of time. And as I've said, we get to a point where it becomes more prevalent, more at the forefront of our thoughts. And the way I think about time is this. In mental health, in the mental health world, very often we think about people being stuck in the past. We see people that are stuck in the past, both in the way they present, both in the way they dress, and both in the way they think. Very often people will become stuck in a part of their lives that they felt was good, that they felt was successful, where they felt their best selves, and we see them trying to hold on to this. And I think what we know is that in the end just creates lots of misery and anxiety. So the past and how we conceptualize the past is really important, but we've got to be careful not to kind of get stuck in it or get hung up on it, because it really can ruin both our present and our future. So the way that I like to think about the past is that it's really valuable to view our pasts as a kind of to view our past whereby we can look at the things that we've done, that we can learn from those things. And that sounds a bit kind of trite, I know that, but actually when we've done things and made decisions in the past, we have to be compassionate to ourselves, because we only know what we know in the moment. So we can only make decisions based on what we have available to ourselves in that moment. So as you look back on your past with a different mindset, or with a whole new world of experiences, try not to be too harsh on yourself. But what is helpful is to kind of look at the thought process or the belief system that was behind that decision. So my view about the past is that it's very helpful for kind of helping us learn about ourselves. And for me, that's really the only true benefit of the past. Now, we all have memories that we like and that we can sort of think, well, that was a lovely moment, that was a beautiful moment, or a memory that can make us sad. And that's always going to happen, but it's how we think about those past moments, I think, that can inform the future and make sure that we live our lives with well-being. So absolutely, when we look at therapy, and I guess us therapists get a bad rap because we talk about the past a lot, but it is very much with the goal of understanding the person that we've become in the present. It's not just going back there for the sake of going back there to dig it all up and to create more pain. It's about trying to understand why those patterns were set up in the first place, so that you can look to change some of those patterns, look to make peace with some of the triggers to that, to kind of learn and grow from it. So I think one of the ways to achieve well-being is very much to use the past in that way. So to be kind to yourself about the decisions that you've made, the ones that weren't great, the things that didn't really work out, kind of figure out what it was about you or about the situation that it wasn't necessarily its most authentic, developed part of you, or, you know, maybe there was some sort of decision-making process behind that didn't necessarily serve you at the time, and that's okay. That's just what being a human is all about. So that's how I conceptualize the past, and I would look at all of those decisions and all of those different journeys and things and patterns, you know, that form our past, and say, okay, who was I? What was behind that decision? And how can I change that? Should I change that? Is that something that I want to work on to try and make sure that going forward I can achieve greater levels of well-being? Then we come to the present, and a lot of people talk about staying present. I talk about staying present because if you're not in the present moment, you are denying yourself the joy of experiencing what's going on around you in that moment. So getting caught up in the past or worrying about the future, which a lot of people do when they're suffering with mental health, is something that is very, very damaging. It means that you can lose hours, you can lose days of your life being anxious or caught up emotionally in another part of your life that's not happening right now. Now, many people talk about the importance of now, and the importance of being present is absolutely crucial, because you just don't know if you're going to get another moment in the now. So you have to live the now in a way that means that you're getting the very most out of it. So I think viewing the past in the way that we talk about, so that you can then experience the now in a different way, is a really helpful and healthy way to look at time and how it impacts our experience of being in the world. So I don't believe that we can always just live in the now, and so we have to make plans for the future, and existential crises and existential thoughts bear this out. You know, we as we've mentioned, you get to a point where you start to think about, okay, what happened to my ability to travel the world? What about this book that I've always said I wanted to write? What about the fact that I want to climb Mount Everest? You know, there comes a point where we realise that we're running out of time, and so we can't necessarily stop that process from happening. So thinking about the future is absolutely crucial to make sure that you don't get to a point of the future of living with regret. So worrying about the future is a different matter altogether, and that's why I believe the wellbeing routines are so vital. But when you think about your future, it's about really planning for that time that you know is going to be happening and hopefully happening. It's about thinking about the things that you want to be doing, that you're moving towards during your life. And when you get to the midpoint of your life, this becomes something that we're thinking about already. You know, it's just a natural process. But doing something to make sure that you're moving towards some of those goals, some of those experiences that you want to have in your life, will mean that you don't get to a point where you have regrets. And we hear in films people saying, "Oh, if I died today, I'll die happy." Largely, that's it has very little to do with the trappings of people that they have. It's very little to do with the size of their house or the size of their car. It's unfortunately, the reality is that people feel like their lives are fulfilling through experiences that they have, and through doing some of the things that make them feel accomplished, through leaving a legacy, through all of those things. So it's really important, and that's where the three kind of aspects of time line up, because you can go back to your past and figure out what motivated you to either do or not do something. You can try and live in the present whilst also thinking about how you're going to kind of incorporate some of these important themes into your future. And it's not always going to be possible, but being present with yourself and thinking about who you are, what motivates you, what you like and what you don't like is so, so crucial. It's always amazing to me when I speak to people that people don't know themselves at all. And really simple stuff, like, what's your favorite food to eat? People even struggle very often with a really simple question like that. And so you can't expect to make the most out of your life and to live with well-being unless you know who you are, unless you know why you made decisions, and unless you know what motivates you and doesn't motivate you. And then you have to kind of try and construct your life to the best of your ability to kind of fit in with some of those guidelines. And that's where well-being routines can really help you. The well-being routines are the things that help you connect with yourself. Experiencing life in this world, there's a lot of noise, there's a lot of distraction, there's a lot of news, there's a lot of media, social media and news media. There's a lot going on outside of us which can just distract us. And having a little bit of time for yourself every day just means that you can connect with the core of who you are. And it's very difficult to achieve well-being, true well-being, unless we do that. So those are my thoughts on time and well-being more generally, and I will be talking a little bit more in detail around well-being and how to conceptualize the 4 different cornerstones, if you like, of well-being that I think about when I try and connect with myself. So I hope you found this helpful. I hope you find all my videos helpful. Of course, I welcome any comments. I'd love to engage in conversations with you. Tell your friends, tell your colleagues, and subscribe if you want to hear more. But there's always going to be more coming your way. Thank you for watching.